Okay, thanks everyone for joining us for today's webinar on Google Shopping. I'm joined by two people today. We've got Jerko, who is a Google Shopping specialist for the Asia Pacific region from Google. He's going to talk to us today about how to increase sales during the holiday period with Google Shopping. Hi, Jerko.
Hi.
We've also got Trevor, who's the COO of Dynamic Creative, who is a Google and Neto partner. And they're going to run through the technical aspect of setting up Google Shopping and then run through some tips for retailers on how they can succeed on the Google Shopping network. So over to you, Jerko. But before you do start, just a reminder that this is a live webinar and you can ask questions through the webinar. We've got staff on hand to ask or answer those questions as we go. So please do type those questions into the chat room that you'll see on the right-hand side of your screen. So let's get the ball rolling. Thanks, Jerko.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the introduction. So I hope everybody's doing great today. I'm really excited to kind of discuss more broadly what is the best way to increase sales during holiday period and why kind of Google Shopping is the perfect, let's say, advertising channel or sales channel to do so. As you can hear from my accent, I'm not from Brisbane, but nonetheless, I've been in Australia now for 1 year, focusing on shopping in local retailers, and I have retail experience for 5 years plus. So I'm really I'm happy to share my knowledge with all of you. And as mentioned, if there's any questions, please feel free to kind of type them in the chat. Thank you. So starting with the first point, and I think this is very important for us to kind of have the right framework when we're discussing Google Shopping, is how will consumers shop this Christmas? We all know the busiest part of the year when for many retailers, majority of revenue is generated during the Christmas season. And I think it's very important for us to understand, like, how can we actually capture the consumer during this period? Now, on the first slide, I think I have a data point that two out of 3 shoppers conduct an online research before purchasing an item. I think this is something that's well known to everybody, and especially to you since you have online businesses. But what I think is really important here is that even when it comes to some very, very basic items, like in consumer goods, such as lipstick, etc., we still see more than 1/3 of consumers are researching it online before they actually go to a shop or buy online, right? But when it comes to high-value items, such as mobile phones or TVs, it's well above 80% that such research is conducted online. And I think that's very, very important for us to understand is actually how big the consumer demand is. And the majority of it is actually happening online. And you might think, yes, but these are these kind of massive brands which capture majority of this revenue. We actually cannot compete with them. I think the next data point really kind of emphasizes that 3 out of 4 Australian consumers were undecided where they would actually shop for Christmas. And I think this kind of undecisiveness, or let's say this kind of behavior from consumers when they're researching several different brands is actually just increasing. So for this year, I'm certain there's going to be even a larger proportion of consumers behaving in such a way. And I think this is an excellent opportunity for smaller brands, smaller businesses to actually position themselves on the market, showcase their best-selling product, kind of try to display the value that they deliver to consumers and capture them in this critical moment of the year. And as mentioned, like, I'm going to explain the next couple of slides before I actually go there, why Google Shopping is perfect to do so. Before we go into that, I think there's one last point in terms of consumer behavior that's very important. We firmly believe, and I think if you're already doing some online advertising, that majority of actually sales or purchases are still happening on desktops. And that I think will kind of continue to do so in terms of conversion rate. But what we have to absolutely understand is that majority of consumers, the first touch point where you can actually put your brand forward, put your products forward, and even later convert them is going to be on mobile phones. So last year we see this massive spike in December, and in January actually still kind of continues, is that almost up to half of all search queries that happen on Google were actually on mobile devices, which I think for a lot of people this is still quite surprising, mostly because they actually are not aware of they can actually capture so much consumer demand, and they still keep focusing potentially just on desktop devices. And another really important point here is This was last year's results, and we firmly believe, based on the year-over-year trends, that this year it's going to be way above half of all search happening on mobile devices. So when you're kind of preparing your campaigns and you're trying to kind of update products on your website, really try to make sure that you're providing a good mobile experience. We're not going to go today that much into detail what that means, but I'll try to show you via shopping ads how you can actually provide an experience when you kind of partner with Google. Does that make sense? Hope so. Now the first part of, so we've heard how the consumer is researching online. We know what devices they're going to be using. Now the question is, how do we make ourselves found, right? How do we actually put forward our business? And as mentioned, the consumer behavior is changing quite a lot. So if you think about it, in 2010, which is just 7 years ago, and I feel like it feels ages, Google only offered text ads. And we actually allow you to shop online, but we didn't allow you to buy. We didn't allow you to kind of have a really immersive experience with the brands, with the way your products look and feel. And I think this is where Google Shopping plays an absolutely critical role. Once my slide moves, apologies. So this is where Google Shopping plays an absolute critical role, is that it's a very visual ad format. So around on the right-hand side, I have an example. Yesterday I was actually researching for men's chinos, and I wasn't sure what kind of color or brand I want to. I was one of those consumers that's not decided. And for me, what was absolutely brilliant is I went on Google, I typed men's chinos, I went on shopping tab, and then I just started exploring and scrolling down on mobile, trying to see what colors I might potentially like. And even as you can see on the right-hand side, some companies were offering me 20% discount, which really kind of helped me narrow down my decision-making. So if you think about Google and Google Shopping, apologies, as an advertising format compared to our text ads, it's an extremely visual and rich ad format where you're able to display the visual look and feel of your product, the price, description. You're able to give special offers. And that's why it tends to work really, really well, because once the consumer has read all of this information, has explored, and they come to your website, they're much more likely to buy. And now moving forward, like I mentioned, mobile devices, it's going to be the primary device when consumers are going to be conducting their research online. But still, a lot of them potentially initially conduct their research on their mobile phone, and then later, when they're at home and they have their credit cards with them, when they're not on the go anymore, they're like in a safe environment. Yes, now I'm willing to sit down and finalize my purchase. They kind of tend to their desktop computers and they finalize the purchase there. The beauty about Google Shopping ads is you're able to serve ads across all devices. So even if your target consumer is on tablets, they're going to have the same immersive, rich experience when kind of researching for the products that you're selling. Continuing from there, I think another really important strength from Google Shopping is, as you can see here on the tabs, we see shopping with images. If you ever kind of try to experience different tabs on Google search, you'll see right now we just saw consumers, somebody searching for summer dress on Google. They don't know what they want, but they want to just see the images and what kind of summer dresses exist there. They can actually click on Google Images and then just scroll through different types of dresses. They can see the color, they can see the look and feel, as I've mentioned, and then select the product. So with Google Shopping, not only will your ads appear on the search bar, they will also be appearing on Google Images. And this is especially important for if you're selling products like apparel, or I tend to find it really important when it comes also to furniture, when you try to see if a certain item kind of fits the product, fits the atmosphere you want to create in your home. And not only that, so yeah, we have the ads appearing on all devices across several networks. You can also leverage Google Shopping to actually show ads on YouTube. What's really great about it is potentially if you have certain video content and you partner with Dynamic Creative and you upload the feed, you can actually cherry pick also specific items that you want to promote on YouTube along the video content that you have. And knowing that YouTube is the #1 video site currently globally. So if you think about, okay, what are other additional channels that I haven't tested in the past potentially? How can I actually also show my ads on YouTube potentially? It can also be done via Google Shopping. And just to clarify here, there are absolutely two options. One is you can actually complement the shopping ad format that we see here with a video. Or second option is we're gonna, if you opt into our search network partners, which YouTube one of is them, we're actually just gonna show you the visual look and feel without a video. So there's two options to do so. Nonetheless, I think this is another way to really kind of put your business forward in a really kind of efficient way, and where consumers will be during this Christmas. What I absolutely love about shopping ads, maybe compared to some other solutions that we offer, is it's a really, really good way with how you can entice shoppers with special offers. Here on the right-hand side, we see like we have a search for snorkeling sets. And as we can see, potentially business called Anaconda, they just had a 40% price drop on that specific item. They can really kind of showcase that, which is a great way if you're having specific, promotions and you want to showcase the consumers of how much they can actually save by purchasing with you. Merchant promotions are actually a brilliant way to do so. And then last but not least in terms of features, because there's actually several other ones, but I just want to emphasize the key ones, is if you potentially have a local business and you want to lead the consumers and you want to actually capture the consumers which are near you, we also offer you the ability to do local inventory ads, which is another feature of Google Shopping, where basically on the right-hand side, we have an example when somebody's searching for headphones near me. They just want to go to a near shop. They're not willing to wait to kind of buy online. You can also showcase your store, the inventory, the price, when you're open, and how far you are from the consumer. So if you are in kind of like an omni-channel retailer, this is another opportunity how you can really truly leverage the power of Google Shopping. Now here, just to kind of give you some additional advice, this is a very advanced feature of Google Shopping, which we have the most experienced advertisers using. So once you start with Google Shopping, we usually recommend you that you start purely with, let's focus on online, and then in the next step, let's try to kind of connect the dots between online and offline. And then to kind of summarize, why is shopping a really good ad format for you to promote your business? As mentioned, number one, it's an extremely visual ad format, and I believe that this is the new consumer expectation, right? If you look at our text ads, there's still an absolutely brilliant way to kind of drive sales to your website. But the next level of consumer expectation, where kind of all the trends are going, is they have a visual experience. Now they don't want to see the description of the item. They want to see how it looks, how it will fit in there, how it's a living room potentially, as we have on the right-hand side. The other brilliant part about it is, if you know potentially that you're willing to spend $100 for a specific item, on Google Shopping ads, we're able to showcase that immediately because we show the consumer for how much actually the item is costing. And not only that, if you potentially have some good business reviews, like here we see on the left-hand side, you can also showcase what the other consumers think about your business. So to kind of summarize these key points is, consumers will be undecisive what brands they're going to buy from during this Christmas period. And when they're conducting their research, they're actually been conducting a lot of queries on mobile devices. And they're expecting a visual rich experience. And this is where Google Shopping can really come into play, when you're going to submit your product information and then really try to capture the consumers when they're willing to buy, when they show their intent. So I don't think there's any other platform that is as good as Google to capture consumers' demand. Why? Because when somebody actually searches something into Google, like wooden floor lamps, they're interested into buying it, and there is no better moment for you to be in that moment. That being said, I think I just wanted to really emphasize, like I said in the last couple of minutes, what the key benefits, the features are, and where the consumers will be during this Christmas period. And now I'd actually like to hand over to Trevor Glen, who is a Google Premier Partner and specializes in Google Shopping, who's going to showcase you how can you actually start using this ad format. So he's going to go really into details, but not to spoil any information, I'll hand over to him.
Thank you, Jerko. Thank you, Chief Operating Officer here at Dynamic Creative. And what we believe at Dynamic Creative is that every business deserves access to high-quality services. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a high cost. And what we're going to show you today is a couple of ways that you can avoid that cost. One is that you can do some of this yourself, and we want to educate you. That's certainly the goal of today's webinar, is to educate you with some tools and some techniques that you can take away. but also want to present an opportunity to work directly with Neto and Dynamic Creative on a service offering. As Jerko said, Dynamic Creative is a Google Premier Partner. We've been a Premier Partner for about 5 years now. And we've actually been working with Neto stores for, I think, over 2 years now. So we're certainly not we're across that market. Oh, excuse me, go the wrong way. There we go. So this is a very important question, is how a retailer can succeed in Google Shopping. So as Jerko presented, there's a number of different things you can do with shopping ads. You can show them in the search results. You can show them in the image search results. You can put them in YouTube, and there's also the local inventory option. And as Jerko said, what we certainly recommend is just starting with getting your ads in Google so that people can, when they're searching for the products you have, that your ads are shown. So we're going to go through that today. So it is technical. There are many steps, and there are some certainly compliance and policy issues you need to be aware of. But it really breaks down to 4 things that you need to do and consider. The first thing is setting up your Merchant Center account and all of the feeds associated with that. Then there's a setup of your AdWords accounts and campaigns. We're also going to look at a setup of a dashboard so you can measure the results of your campaigns, and then also talk about how you do the ongoing management of your Google Shopping campaigns. So the first thing is getting your product feed into your Merchant Center account. Now, setting up a Merchant Center account is not that difficult. You have to claim the website URL. And it's a simple process, but getting your product feed in for a lot of merchants can actually be quite difficult. However, because you've chosen Neto platform, you've done a great job, because Neto already provide a product feed out of the box. Not only that, Dynamic Creative has worked with Neto to produce a plugin to automate the creation of the feed as well. So either way, this is actually not that difficult a step for a Neto merchant. It can be for others though. So you've saved a little bit of time and effort by choosing Neto as your platform. Now, the second thing, and this is a very important step. As you can see, this is a website that sells handbags, and one of the categories they have on their websites are clutches. Now, a clutch, obviously, for a woman who has handbags, she would know that a clutch is something you take out on an evening, but that's also a auto replacement part. So if you don't map your categories to Google's taxonomy, Google won't know what it is that you're actually selling on your website. So this is an important step, and I encourage any retailer who's selling through Google Shopping to do a deep dive down to the deepest category they can in the taxonomy. It can be a time-consuming path, but if you don't do it, then, as I said, Google won't know which category your products are in, and so either your ads won't show, or they'll show against the wrong search term. So someone searching for a clutch for their Ford Falcon will actually be served a handbag. That's not a great result for you as an advertiser, and certainly is not a great result for Google's users. And Google is all about the user, and you will be penalized in your shopping campaigns by doing that. So spend the time and get this right. The next thing you need to do, and this relates to what the image that Jerko showed before, where the user was clicking on the blue dresses. So you're searching for summer dresses and then looking for blue summer dresses. So what you're actually looking for there is you've got to optimize your product titles to have the way that people are searching in Google. So Google rank the products not only upon bids, but also the keywords that appear in the title. So for example, if you used to have a website that sells running shoes, people search in this way. They search for the brand, the model, and the product type. So making sure that your product titles in your feed match the way that people search not only will improve your shopping campaigns, because it'll improve how often your products are shown, and also increase the likelihood that someone's going to click on the ads. If you actually go back and make this change on your Neto store, you actually get free SEO traffic, because you're actually improving the way that your website appears in Google. So we strongly recommend to all of our customers that they can use software like our tool here to actually make the change. But the best thing you can do is go back to your website and make the change on your website to match the way that people search. There's also the keyword planner tool in AdWords that show you how people search as well. And I'd strongly recommend using that as a way to do some research around how people search. Sorry, we've gone the wrong way. The next one, and this is one that I think a few new advertisers get caught on, is the Google policy and guidelines. Google are very descriptive on exactly what you are allowed to and not allowed to advertise in Google Shopping. And so, you can certainly research that beforehand. But at this point, you've got all your products into Merchant Center, you've optimized your feed. And so this is where making sure that your website and feed comply with the policies and guidelines, such as you've got to have a returns policy. You can't use poor quality watermarked images. And probably the one that catches out a lot of our Australian customers is missing GTINs or barcodes. Now, this hasn't affected New Zealand as yet, but it will come, I'm sure, very soon. What this means is that you will not be allowed to advertise in shopping at all without barcodes. So if there's one thing that you take out of today, is that get your barcodes from your suppliers if you can, or worst case scenario, scan all your products that have barcodes and get them into your Neto store. That way they'll come through with with either the Neto product feed or the dynamic creative feed, and you'll be able to advertise. But if you don't have GTINs today, start that conversation today of getting those GTINs or barcodes into your systems. So at this stage, Merchant Center, tick, you've got your products in, they've all been approved. Google's happy with all of your policy that you enforced, that you've implemented all of their policies. And so now you've got to create your AdWords accounts and your AdWords campaigns. Our suggested best practice is to create a highly granular campaign. And what that means is that you have a campaign and an ad group right down to the category level on your website. You also then need to segment your product groups by ideally brand and SKU. The reason you want to do that is that it makes it a lot easier to do negative keyword work, and also for machine learning algorithms to work. We're going to talk a little bit more about machine learning algorithms in a minute, but the machine learning algorithms work better with a fragmented campaign. It's the best way to do it. What we generally see when we take on a campaign for a customer is that you have a single campaign with a single ad group. And whilst that's easy to set up, it makes ongoing management extremely difficult to do. So there's software solutions to that, like our solution and others that are out there. And you can do it manually. It's just a time-consuming task. So certainly a highly granular campaign is what we would definitely recommend. Before you turn on your campaigns, the other thing you want to do is do a test conversion to make sure that your website is actually tracking conversions correctly. Again, your choice of Neto as a platform is a great one because Neto pushes the data, the e-commerce data into analytics, so you don't necessarily need to worry about it. But it's definitely worth doing a test to make sure that when someone purchases off your website, that appears in your analytics account. The main reason you want to do this is that you can measure what is actually selling off of your website when you start advertising in Google. This then also allows the machine learning algorithms to do what they do best, and that's take the data and actually make predictions about which customers are more likely to convert in the future. But if they don't know what's converted in the past, they can't determine what's going to convert in the future. So definitely making sure that your conversion tracking is working is an important step for Google Shopping as well. So you're now ready to turn your campaigns live, and now you need to consider your bidding strategy. I've talked about machine learning a lot. I would strongly recommend that you use the bidding algorithms that exist within Google's platform in AdWords. Now, the reason being is that these machine learning algorithms take many signals, like the age, the sex, the location, the device the user is on, what's the time of day, the day of week, have they been to the website before? All of these signals come into the consideration about whether the bid should be higher or lower at that point in time based upon whether someone is more likely or less likely to convert at that point in time. So I would strongly recommend looking at using those. Enhanced CPC, target ROAS, and target CPA are the ones to consider. Now, we start with enhanced CPC for our customers, mostly because at the beginning, you don't have enough data to use the other bidding strategies. You can also set your bids and should set your bids based upon what you think you can break even on to begin with. So a simple way to do that is to look at your average order value and divide that by your expected conversion rate. And you can sort of start setting up an expected bid that you want to start with. But really what you need to consider now is, what does success look like from your Google Shopping campaigns? Are you actually looking to make a profit from these campaigns, or are you really just looking to get as many customers as you can at the lowest possible price? And that's a really good strategy if you have a great email marketing platform, so that you can attract your customers to get them in and then sell them more through your email marketing. So you've got to consider what success looks like from your shopping campaigns. And finally, you have to regularly review your results. Google Shopping is not a set and forget service. You need to use it. There's new entrants that come into the market. People adjust bids every second. These machine learning algorithms are always adjusting. So you always need to review your results and make sure it's working for you. The best way to do that is, in fact, with a tool from Google called Google Data Studio. It's a fantastic platform that is free. So again, save you some costs. But as you can see from this the picture here, you can see lots of great information, things like, what device are people converting on, what type day of week are they most likely to convert on, the geography. All of that information is available in a nice, simple to use dashboard. The AdWords interface has this information, of course, but it's not quite as easy to work around as this dashboard is. We have a template for this on our website that you can just copy and use as well, free of charge. So if you are looking to set up this dashboard, please visit our website and have a look there. So how can a retailer succeed in Google Shopping? Well, as you've seen, in 10 minutes, we've been able to cover off most of the important things that you need to do. And as a recap, set up your merchant center, make sure that you get all your products in the right feed, do that optimization of the product titles, absolutely, and ideally on your website. You want to make sure that you are conforming to Google's policies before you start spending in Google. Set up your AdWords account and campaigns with a highly granular structure. Consider using Google's bidding strategies and machine learning smart bidding rather than trying to do manual bidding yourself. And set up a dashboard where you can measure results all the time. Of course, you can go away and do it yourself. But what we want to do, and Google, Neto, and Dynamic Creative are here to help, and we've partnered to make an offer to you as Neto customers today. Generally, Dynamic Creative charges a $495 setup fee, where we go through a lot of what we've just gone through today. We set up all of your accounts, do the conversion tracking test, use our software to set up the shopping campaign, categorize and optimize your feeds, and set up your Data Studio account. That's usually our setup fee. So for people on the webinar today, you will get this free if you sign up to one of our management plans. We've worked with Neto to waive that one, and that will be waived for anyone who signs up after today. Then it comes to the ongoing management, and again, Neto and Dynamic Creative have worked together to put some pricing towards this opportunity for you guys, and we've slashed the prices down to $450 to begin with, for up to $5,000 of ad spend. And what you get from that is that Dynamic Creative will be completely managing your account on your behalf. We'll be reviewing its performance, setting the goals, setting the manual bids to begin with, and using the smart bidding algorithms, doing the query optimization, troubleshooting your feed, and then set up regular meetings with you where we look at performance and insight of how your campaigns have been performing. Our software, which is included in the price, does daily data synchronization with your Neto store to ensure that campaigns are automatically turned on or turned off depending upon your product stock levels, and if you add new things to your website, so you don't have to go through them and add them all into your shopping campaign. Our software also does automatic negative keywords. We use the smart bidding, as we've discussed, and we're going to use that shopping dashboard for your reporting. So that special offer exists today, and will be running for a little while. But you need to get on board quickly, as we've only got a few spots available at these prices. So your success in Google Shopping is our highest priority at Dynamic Creative. What we wanted to present today was to show you that you can get access to high quality advertising services, and it doesn't have to be at a high cost. You can do it yourself, and I hope you've been able to take some lessons out of today from what we've shown of how you can actually start executing on this yourself. And of course, we've got those price points there today to get you up and running and get you successful in Google Shopping in the shortest possible time. So thank you for your time today. I'll now hand back to Ryan.
Thanks very much, Trevor and Jerko. Really insightful. I certainly learned a lot, and I'm sure all of our viewers did too. We have posted that offer into the chat there, so you should be able to see that there, guys. There's a link through to the website with that pricing, terms and conditions, etc. Obviously, feel free to give our team a call or contact Dynamic Creative directly as well. But hopefully, yeah, everyone learned a lot today. We'll be running more webinars like this in the future, partnering with companies like Dynamic Creative, Google, and others. Just to help educate you as retailers to be as successful as you can. So again, thanks very much for joining us. Hope you got a lot out of the webinar and hope to see you in the webinar room again soon. Cheers, everyone.